On Grady Hill by Brent Noury. Read by Brent Noury. Chapter 11. Samuel Comes to Town Again. We had been sitting in the tavern for just over a half hour. Mr. and Mrs. Anglo were aching to celebrate their new home and business. Titus being hounded by my daddy about where he'd been all day. Titus was doing his usual maneuver, and he was accustomed to doing such situations. Titus really had a talent for tense situations. People say he could smooth over a porcupine and mad badger all at the same time. Titus was a very practical person. He had a way of seeing all sides of things and putting other people's dreams in motion. Anyhow, the tavern was full, and Samuel Grady walked in. There was a hush in the room, like the phantom was real, but the moment might be not. Samuel still had the same look on his face from earlier, but somehow maybe even more convinced about his path, like he had just been through his first great battle on a militant campaign. Samuel set his sights on a war for utopia, one in the hearts and minds of everyone in town.
Well, Big Bill's boy, Samuel, come by to charm us again. Maybe you can tell me why Titus was out in Gentry today. You still trying to pit those boys Gentry and Ford against Charleston for that mountain of yours? My daddy said. Nah, we went out there so Mr. and Mrs. Anglo could finally purchase hospitality. The Anglos started receiving congratulations around the room. And to move the railroad from Charleston's over here to Haven Street. Gasps were all around the tavern. I bought a chunk of Clark's land. Mrs. Antono has her place now. And through the backside, the train will run through Clark's and meet up on Haven. Arthur, Gentry Ford are building a school over in their town. Maybe we could have one too, on that edge of Clark. Would be a good spot for that library we've talked about. You could build your library there and have a school too. We're going to have a lot more people coming to town with that railroad. A lot more workers, a lot more work. Farms down here need more land. And everyone in here deserves a piece of our new town. Haven, before the fire, you and my dad were talking about that northeast lot out beyond your land up into North Hillside. I want to give you that land. There's good lumber and good soil there. That goes for everyone here. There's good land and wood up front mountainside. I want to use all the mountain has to offer for us. We can build our town, and everyone can have their piece of it, something to take pride in. Pension boys, I'm sorry about our altercation, Tom. If I give you boys each a plot of land to toil on, you think you can keep your energy on that? Yes, sir, Mr. Grady, said Richard and Tom in unison. How about it, Haven? Gentry Ford are building their town. We should build ours. I need help up topside this coming season, and I'm willing to give as much help as I can give. If we work together on this thing, we really have something. You see, Charleston is trying to take any something we could have and crush it. Scatter the dreams. Leave them broken or in ashes. He tries to divide, to hurt us with our hardship. Ain't a person here that hadn't dealt with their share. But I see something different in the shattered pieces of dreams. There's a puzzle for how the pieces fit, but you can't put them back the way they were. It's really about how you see the pieces and the pile of ashes. There's so many of them and so much of it. It's only then that you start to see that all the collections of dreams and how they fit together is a massive mountain that you're already standing on. Belief is the lighthouse that shines through the darkness and guides the way to the endless plateau at the top of the mountain of dreams. My daddy replied, "We could call it Grady Haven." "We should call it Utopia," said Samuel. "That way everyone has a place and a part and a reason to hold the town to that standard. We can't call a town Utopia if we don't mean it. The name itself will bind us to the good." Then the quiet pension girl Aubrey, the youngest of the lot, spoke up. "We should change the name of that dang mountain, too. We should call it Grady Hill. Everyone always calls that anyways. Make it official." My father embraced Samuel, and cheers and shouts rang out in the tavern. Utopia was born. Samuel shook every person's hand in the room and received many hugs as the celebration in the tavern began. It was a night we'd talk about for years to come, and still doing now. There was so much work still to be done, and the monster that was Charleston wasn't leaving. But for this moment, as Utopia was rising, we were in a state of bliss. During the celebration, I saw Titus hand Samuel a little wooden box. At one point, Samuel walked outside and onto the tavern porch. I followed him outside and stood next to him along the railing. "Why did you need me up at Clark Farm today, Samuel?" "I needed someone who believed in Utopia with me, and I wanted you there. I wanted you with me. We built Utopia, Astrid." It was then that Samuel pulled the wooden box from his pocket. He got down on one knee and opened the box. "Will you spend a lifetime in Utopia with me, Astrid Haven?" "I'll spend it as Astrid Grady," I replied. End of chapter 11.